Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating, where we are your investigative reporters because we are here to investigate why people do the things that they do and say the shit that they say when it comes to modern dating. Meet
I like
your
that one.
lovely, meet your lovely investigative reporter, co-reporter here, Julie Kravchik.
I like
Everyone
that title. I'm going to stick with that one from now on. That's a good one.
makes us sound very scientific, right?
It does. And I feel even more scientific because you and I have been really busy recording the last couple of days. We've been really pulling it up to top into high gear again, and we are ready for season 13, which will be next week. I can't even believe we're on season 13.
It just never stops. 13. I had a friend ask me the other day. She was like, "You've been doing the podcast for a while. What season are you on now? Like 4 or 5?" I'm like, "No,
13.
13."
Yes. And we're not going to give too much away, but we have a really amazing premiere episode for this season. And I will say the guest is scientific and it does have to do with sex because we are a sex podcast, obviously.
Yes. Apparently, that's our rebrand. The Sexable podcast.
The
This one's going to
Sexable
be
podcast.
huge.
Love it.
This will be our last bonus episode for season 12 before we get into season 13. And the treat for you all this week is Julie was on a podcast to speak. Basically, I felt like it was kind of a panel, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was with the California Groundbreakers podcast. They reached out, the host Vanessa, and she also had, speaking of scientific, I feel like this elevates me by default that I was on there with a professor in the attraction lab at UC Davis, who
so fun.
also, hint, we are going to have as a guest on our podcast because it was so fun talking with him, and you'll all hear on the episode he has a lot of really interesting insights that is just a different lens of all this. Like, he studies this very scientifically.
One thing that was very much noteworthy about this entire experience is that, Julie, you can fully grasp your title as a Bay Area expert now because you, first of all, I think you have been in the Bay Area for 10 years now. Has it been 10 years?
Yeah. Over 10
officially?
years. I officially am a local. I don't know if locals would agree with that, but I'm going to go with that statement. I think it's like
So
10 years or more you become a local,
You're
right?
not born and raised, but you're definitely more in tune with the Bay Area scene than
Yes.
most people, especially earning this badge of, 10 plus years in the area. And not only are you that, you are also an expert in Bay Area dating too. So see, you just got 2 new titles underneath your investigative reporter belt.
I love it. But of course, as most guest appearances that UA and I are on, they always have to do with COVID dating. I feel like this has definitely been our year to be guests because it's like a whole new realm of dating that is uncharted territory, basically. And I think it's interesting because this episode, a lot of it is, what's going to happen? Are we in this hot vax summer? And, I think we still are, but there's a little bit of a twist that came with Delta for sure. And we dive into it. We won't go too deep, but just about what's going to happen after it. Like, are people going to be in roaring 20s mode or are we in FODA? Fear of dating again.
And if we are in roaring 20s mode, how long does that last for before we go into another lockdown, which is my prediction, at least for LA. I think we're going to go into another lockdown.
That's you as the LA expert?
Well, 2 people close to me had breakthrough COVID positive tests, which means they were vaxxed and tested positive for COVID, and both of them are very sick. So this is troubling to me. Yes. And I think it's going to hinder the dating scene. I think this hot girl summer, hot vax summer, FODA is real because COVID is real still.
I know. So I feel like we always love to, take the polls out to our people and get a pulse of what everyone's feeling. So we ran 2 respective polls today. We had one that was on Instagram and one that was in the Facebook group. So it was really just trying to get a feel of like who is experiencing FODA and who is like, I am ready to date again. I have 0 FODA.
And you want me to give the results of the Instagram poll first?
Yeah. Yep. Let's do that.
We have 75%. Can you guess? Yes or no? Fear of FODA, yes or no? Can you guess, Julie?
Well, it's bad because I already saw. But
you already saw? Yeah. She cheated. Well, 75% of you said, yes, I definitely have a fear of FODA, and 25% of you said no. Or maybe you didn't know what FODA was. But it is overwhelmingly the majority who definitely still have a fear of dating again.
You know what's interesting? On our Facebook group poll, I feel like the results were a little more, I mean, it was definitely skewing more to FODA, but more close to 50-50. It was not as 75-25. And I thought what was interesting there is we got the reasons why people were feeling that way. And I think the bulk of the reasons actually was that people felt frustrated by online dating apps. And they felt like this was the only method this day and age. And it's actually on this episode, I'm not going to go into too much because Paul talks all about it too, is that in the past it's always been a balance of meeting IRL too, but now we're just like relying on one, so maybe the interactions feel a little more harsh because there's not other interactions to balance it out. So I thought that was interesting that a lot of people said that. There were definitely some trickling results for COVID, just fear of COVID again. Not as many, though, as others. So that's kind of an interesting aspect. I thought that might be a piece of it. A few other trickling responses of just like social skills, but not as many, like lack of social skills, not working that muscle, not as many as I would have thought either. And then a couple comments around like body image, which I thought was interesting just because, I mean, I've definitely felt this sometimes, you know, during, you got your pandemic bod, right? The COVID-15 is a thing. So sometimes when that's happening, dating, you don't feel as confident in dating. So it's interesting to hear some of the reasons that people were citing. And I'm sure there's even more, but the whole like dating apps as a continued frustration seems to be something that really is holding people back.
So it sounds like it's the same as pre-COVID. The only thing different on that list is COVID. Everything else stays the same. So we're just back to where we were before. But I kind of feel the frustration of this because before COVID, people can be frustrated with dating apps, but still know that there are other opportunities and other avenues to meet people. Even if they don't take advantage of those avenues, they know those are available. But now all of those options are taken away. They're like, fuck, I can only blame dating apps.
Oh my God, I totally feel that. I bet you have too. Like this like mythological feeling that you are going to meet someone in a bar. I can count on my hands like how many times that's resulted in a real relationship. Spoiler alert, I don't need 2 hands. So I just feel like though there's that feeling of thinking that it's a possibility though that gives you hope.
Yes. And then you think about your meet cute story of like walking into a coffee shop or walking down the street and bumping into someone. And then you go home and you go on the dating apps and you're like, this does not mimic the fantasy that I have created in my head. It's the same, y'all, before and during and after COVID. Hate to burst your bubble. It's the same either way. But mindset is so huge in all of this. And we totally feel you. If you have FODA, you are obviously not alone. But also we totally get it. We've all been there. And now it's even more amplified because even thinking about going on that first date, where do you go? How do you date? What questions do you ask? Now it's like just asking if someone's vaxxed is not even enough. It's like, have you had a recent negative COVID test? Probably plays into it. But my prediction is maybe all those dating events, those singles events, may make a comeback if they make people take a same-day PCR test, show us your negative test result, and then that night you can join this event. So it's more of a safe space.
That is so much fucking work, though. I feel like for singles, I don't know. It does make me a little sad when I see all the downer messages about dating apps. Maybe because I met my current partner on a dating app. I've also met a partner before that on a dating app, and I feel like it's always, the quick to blame. And like, I've definitely been there myself where I felt very frustrated by it. I'm not going to say too much, but UA and I have been kind of like working on something behind the scenes too that hopefully will help people out a lot with this, because I feel like it's such, like, I was just thinking about this day. I'm like, I'm so happy right this minute, like with my partner. And I have Hinge to thank because I would never have met him ever, So yeah, I'm not saying that to like brag in any way, but I'm saying it because I feel like all our members that are on dating apps, they're all on them. So good people are on there. It's just learning the skill set to be able to find those good people, because I personally really believe strongly they exist.
There's something really problematic going on, and I think it has to do with stigma, is that often we hear people talk about dating apps and specifically call one or two out as the bad ones they've had experience with. But when people have met people on dating apps, they don't say, oh, I met this person on Hinge. What a lovely app. They say, oh, we met online. So I think the dating apps are getting shunned in a way because we are not celebrating the matches that we have had on these dating apps, and we're not calling out the apps specifically. So maybe this is a challenge for our listeners, is that if you have had good luck in the past on apps, even if those relationships didn't work out, at least give the apps a shout out. So we're putting that into the universe instead of all this like, I hate Hinge, I hate Bumble, I hate Coffee Meets Bagel. What about like, I met a partner who I was with for 3 months from Hinge, and it was a lovely time.
Right. I don't know. I feel like I would gladly be the spokesperson for Hinge. I feel like
if they want to.
Is that a hint to Hinge that Dateable podcast will sponsor? Yes. But I think, I think you're right. I think people need, I think it's human nature in a way, because it feels weird. Like, even when I was saying it, I'm like, I don't want to like brag. It's not bragging, but you feel kind of weird being like, yeah, I'm happy. Like, that's like a weird thing to say. It's easier to talk about the shit that's going on in a way.
Well, I mean, people brag about, oh, I met my partner jogging and it was a really cute story. He ran into me and I was tying my shoe. But why can't we openly be like, oh, we met on Hinge. He had this really great line. His profile photo was this, and I said this to him. Like, that could be part of a story too that we can talk about. Right?
Totally.
Let's get into some announcements for this week. In addition to our new season starting, we are also rolling out our new version of the sounding board. So we've been talking about this for quite a bit. Sounding board is the next level of Dateable. If you want to connect with, think about it as like taking our relationship to the next level. Dateable is kind of like you're just talking to each other, which is great, but sounding board is like we're in some sort of like a situationship, right? And and it's
a committed relationship.
It's committed, yeah. So okay, fine. It's a relationship. It's official. And not only are you in a relationship with Julie and I, you're in a relationship with all the other people that are part of the community. So we've been iterating on what the sounding board should be like, and it's been such a wonderful experience. And we know that for this next iteration, we want a little bit more intimacy and a little bit more time with all of you. So the new version of the sounding board is that there's only one level, which makes it much easier. And this level includes podcast discussions, because we realize after you listen to an episode, there's a lot to talk about. And maybe there are other people in your life who don't listen to Dateable and you don't know, you can't talk to them about the episode. So why not be part of a group of people who listen to the same episode as you and they want to talk about it? The other part of the sounding board that we're really excited about are what we're calling office hours with Julie and I, where you get a chance to chat with us about anything. And this is on a monthly basis where you get this designated time with the two of us. And it is a free open forum for you. Anything you want to talk about. And you can also, what I love about it is that you can learn from other people, what they're going through. And one, realize you're not in this alone, and 2, learn from other people's challenges or experiences.
It's kind of like a mastermind group that you'll have the opportunity in the office hours. We're kind of transforming these from coffee chats, and we'll have the opportunity to like get specific on things that are happening on your dating life and get UA and I's feedback in addition to anyone else that's in that room at that time. And then in addition to that, you'll be getting these discussions like UA alluded to. And some of that might be recapping a past podcast, but some of it also is we're kind of going to have, I hate that using the word curriculum, but it's almost like a, you know, a list of more curated topics. Like, for example, one could be approaching in real life. Like, what is the, like, allowing people to have this open conversation where we kind of get ideas from each other. I think obviously the podcast is great, but we're just talking out to you all, where this allows you to kind of, you know, be talking to each other. And someone might have been even listening to what UA and I just said and was like, oh, that sparked this idea. In this idea, yep, okay. And this sparked this idea and this idea. And I think having the ability to do that in a discussion is going to be really great. And the topics like are going to range from all sorts of things to kind of these tactical topics, all the way to like, you know, do I want children? How do I communicate that to a partner? Like these deeper questions like that. We're going to go, you know, much deeper, and it's going to be great. I'm very excited. Our hosts are going to be leading a lot of these. It's going to be just, I'm very excited for this next evolution of the sounding board.
So find out all about it at dateablepodcast.com/sounding board. We're going to be rolling out a lot of content about the sounding board on our social channels, as well as in the Facebook community, which is called Love in the Time of Corona by the Dateable Podcast. Thanks to all of our new members who've joined recently. A whole influx. I think it's because of the Delta variant. It's like, boom, we're back at it. Everyone's out searching for Love in the Time of Corona again. Thanks to all the new members joining us. But look for all of that content. We'll be rolling that out. In the meantime, feel free to DM us on Instagram because we are pretty active there.
Yep. And definitely follow us at Dateable Podcast.